Hello, everyone. I'm Carrie Delgott, Wescott's President and Chief Operating Officer. And I'm here with Mark McCarron, our Chief Investment Officer. It's great to see you, Mark.
Hi, Carrie. Yeah, it's good to be here. We've got an interesting topic today, talking about AI and its evolution. And I think it's timely today, too, because we've got the latest earnings call today from NVIDIA after the end of the day. So a lot happening, and glad to be here.
Couldn't agree more. Headlines every day on this topic. Generative AI seems to be revolutionizing industries by enabling machines to contribute creatively in ways that we once thought were exclusive to human beings. And some of those examples include um, new original content in the form of text, images, music, even complex simulations. So, our question of the day, as you see, is AI the ultimate human invention? And we're kicking off with a simple example illustrated here on this slide. We asked Microsoft Copilot to quote unquote illustrate the benefits of Microsoft Copilot. And the tool produced the image you see here on the right-hand side of the screen, this friendly, helpful little robot. So I thought that was a fun way to set the stage for today's discussion. But we've also included a few interesting quotes here. The first from the founder and CEO of NVIDIA: accelerated computing and generative AI have hit the tipping point. Demand is surging worldwide across companies, industries, and nations. And then from Karsten Noble from Henkel, we have AI is probably the most transformative technological development in recent decades. It will fundamentally change tasks and qualification profiles across all industries. And then lastly, my favorite from BCA Research: generative AI, the last thing humans ever invent. So clearly, AI is moving fast. And while many are worried about the pace, most do agree that a wait and see approach isn't really the right way to go. So businesses are focused on harnessing the power of generative AI without risking data, process, governance, and maybe even culture. So, Mark, why don't we jump in and talk a little bit more about who's embracing and how?
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. Those are great quotes, I think, to set things up because there's elements of hope and excitement and a little bit of fear and uncertainty, about this new technology. So I think first of all, we want to talk a little bit about the most common uses and applications of AI, like who's using this and for what reason. So there's a lot of studies out there. This is from an IBM Global AI Adoption Survey done in 2023, and basically it was a survey conducted to truly understand from technology and IT professionals where are they employing AI and generative AI specifically. And it's really to be more automated, automating IT processes, monitoring and governance of systems and processes of different parts of businesses such as industrial, manufacturing, understanding the flow of documents from one thing to the next. AI can help do that much more efficiently. And then maybe the other one I would highlight too is automating customer or employee self-service answers and actions. So I think many of us experience this on a website. You've got a little chat box that comes up. It's how can I help you? That is not an actual person. That is an AI bot, basically behind the scenes, but using all the technology available to make things work better. And right now, it seems like it's pervasive, right? It's in almost every industry, and helping to automate the technology and the processes that a lot of businesses use, ultimately to make them more efficient and more profitable. So that's number one. The other thing we want to highlight is, well, who's using this, and is it as pervasive as we think? And there's another study done. This is the Work Trend Index by Microsoft along with LinkedIn. This is more about who's using it and how. But according to this survey, this is 2024, early this year, 75% of people already are using AI work in some way. But it's interesting. There's a little quote over here, or a little title over here that says BYO AI. That's bring your own AI. So some of these people who are using AI in the workplace are doing it by bringing their own interest and tool to work. It's not provided by the company itself. And one question is, well, it's got to be just the younger Gen Z or millennials that are doing that, but it's not the case. Gen X, boomers, 58 years and older are also beginning to implement or use tools to help them do their own work more efficiently, uh, regardless of whether their company is sponsoring or not. And the other part of this too is, according to the same survey, 66% of leaders wouldn't hire someone unless they have AI skills in some way, shape, or form. So not only is AI being implemented currently, but people coming into the workforce must have this technology expertise in some way because it's going to be used in their job. But that's the positive and the exciting part of it. The other side of it is, well, maybe we should be a little more careful about how we use it, especially if we're bringing our own AI into workplace. What are the risks, right? And this is the biggest sort of reason that some companies and individuals are holding back, are a little more skeptical. And you talked about wait and see. IT professionals agree that the customers and the consumers that they serve are more likely to work with them if they have a very transparent and ethical AI practice. And 57% of the survey respondents say that data privacy is the biggest barrier. Like, how do I know how my data is being used as a consumer? And I only want to work with companies that respect that. And so, what are the characteristics of a trustworthy AI? I mean, basically, any answer you get from AI should be not biased in one way, shape, or form. The data should be clear, and its sourcing should be clear. Where is it coming from? If the AI comes up with a recommendation or a solution or a decision, can you explain it? Can you feel confident you know where that's coming from? And developing these ethical AI policies is pretty clearly a focus of some of the largest players in the industry. Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet, which is the owner of Google, they're all working on some of these things. We'll talk about that shortly. Um, and there's still a skills gap, meaning not everyone in the workplace is comfortable using AI. 1 in 5 organizations report they don't have employees with the right skills. So while AI might automate some jobs, there's a need for AI expertise in new labor and new employees. So I don't know if the labor challenge of AI taking our jobs is here today. It's actually creating a need to fill the gaps in labor or skill shortages. But ultimately, what we see is that AI should help companies be more effective, more efficient, more profitable if it's used in a trustworthy and ethical way.
You've mentioned quite a few names already, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about some of those lead companies and countries in this revolution. I think that names that come to mind for most that's really a sort of a natural fit would be those with large repositories of data. So you mentioned Microsoft; that one fits very nicely. NVIDIA hits the headlines all the time. They're most well known as a hardware giant, but let's talk more about the players.
Yeah, I think that the players are broadening out, and the initial beneficiaries of this AI revolution are those that create the technology. They're the ones that have the chips that you need to sort of fuel and generate the computing power that run these systems. So NVIDIA, major player in creating the AI infrastructure of today. um, Graphics processing units, GPUs, which are pretty critical for any AI computation. The faster and more efficient you can be, the better your AI solution. Microsoft is in there, including, we talked to already about Copilot. It's sort of being integrated into everything that they do. Um, Alphabet, which is Google parent AI infrastructure, Gemini AI system. So that's the Copilot of the Google, landscape. ServiceNow, Apple, Amazon, Meta. These are companies that are sort of taking that technology and making their service more effective. Advanced Micro Devices, which is another chip manufacturer, they sort of are competitors to NVIDIA. So there's a lot of companies in there that are on the front edge of the beneficiaries, really, of this revolution. On the right hand side, though, I think it's interesting. The same research and survey, um, it shows two dots per country, and the purple one is those that are actually deploying AI today, and the blue is those that are exploring it, thinking about it, right? And what I find interesting is that the U.S., there's more people thinking about it than deploying it, versus China. There's more people deploying it than thinking about it, and actually in India, it's way off the charts. So why is that? That's an interesting dynamic. Maybe it's a cultural thing, but also India and China are typically outsourced manufacturers in many ways. So that's primarily where some of this leading edge AI is being implemented. But then there's also the question of ethical, trustworthy AI and whether there's that same concern across the world. Whereas the US might be a little bit more conservative in thinking about how do we use AI, those in China and India might be going ahead with it anyway. Sort of that's the dynamic. But if that's the case, there should be winners across the board, not only the companies that are creating this technology, which are mainly US companies today, but the beneficiaries could also be those that are using it and deploying it in their day-to-day operations.
You used the word beneficiary quite a few times. Beneficiaries have also been investors, right? So I know you're asked an awful lot about performance returns. Let's turn our attention inward and talk about both the direct and indirect AI exposure within our portfolios.
Yeah, it's a common question. Do I have any of this in the portfolio? And the short answer is yes. It's everywhere, so you can't avoid it. But more specifically, Wescott portfolios include a combination of both actively managed funds, passive funds, across a variety of investment styles, growth styles, value styles. And so we highlighted three common holdings in client portfolios today. The first is William Blair, large cap growth. They're a growth oriented strategy. They've always been an active manager, and they have the largest allocation today to the technology companies on the leading edge. Microsoft, NVIDIA, Advanced Micro Devices, they are top holdings within the large cap growth strategy from William Blair. Why is that? They have the greatest growth prospects. They are winning in terms of earnings, market share development, and the rest. So clients have direct exposure to those leading edge companies through William Blair. But also Dodge and Cox stock, which is sort of a core fund, balanced fund, if you will, in terms of value and growth and good technology and other. They have the Amazons and Alphabets and United Health Corp, which is not a technology company, but a healthcare provider that has a lot of data. And they could really benefit from more efficient use of that data through the implementation and the deployment of generative AI. And then the final example is DFA Large Cap Value, another example of a widely held fund. They have exposure to things like JP Morgan Chase, ExxonMobil, and Salesforce. And while they are not investing in the Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Advanced Micro Devices, which are the chip manufacturers and the leading technology, they are investing in companies that are going to take that new technology, deploy it smartly and effectively, and improve earnings dramatically. So I think those are more the indirect exposures to AI, whereas William Blair is more the direct exposure to AI, and I would say Dodge and Cox is somewhere in the middle. And I think in general, the broad adoption of AI technology, the newest generative AI in businesses across sectors, regions, productivity should increase going forward. That's not to say that we're all making pictures of robots, using generative AI text prompts, but more than that, how can you use this in technology to make businesses more smarter, more efficient, and ultimately more profitable?
Thanks, Mark. As always, a terrific update on a very intriguing and hot topic. If you have any questions or would like to discuss any of the topics we've covered in our webinar updates, feel free to reach out to Mark or your advisor. And thanks for your trust in Wescott.